Hello and welcome. And this is our musical guest, Jodi Siegel. Thank you for that. It was nice intro. I'm Kim Manning. I'm your board treasurer, welcoming you today, everyone. And today we have Reverend Shara with us, who will be speaking about the spirituality of elbow grease. And also, I want to just mention, Jodi has been with us before, and we welcome her back because we just enjoy her music so much. So it is time for May birthdays. So anyone with a May birthday, please stand, and Jodi will play Happy Birthday.
Well, happy birthday to you. Yeah, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody. Happy birthday
Thank you so much. And now we have Jean-Claude leading us in our congregational song.
So please stand for a different congregational song this time. Sacred Love. You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, God, blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God, deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place, such a holy place. You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are.
I'm Mary Stevens, prayer chaplain, and it's my great honor and joy to light the Christ candle and begin the service. The Christ candle reminds us that all of us of that guiding light that is within us. The word for today is free. And the affirmation is, I am one with the freeing, guiding force of God. The Bible quote is from Hebrews. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can anyone do to me? Imagine a bird soaring in flight, seems to effortlessly glide in the air, and then with a few flaps of its wings, it goes upwards and forwards against the force of gravity. Likewise, I can open my mind and heart and feel that freeing force of God within. When I give myself to this powerful and peaceful force, I release feelings of stress and doubt. I put my trust in God and move forward and upward with purpose and confidence. Just as that bird overcomes gravity and flies with purpose, we can overcome challenges and circumstances and be lifted by our divine nature. In spirit, we are free. Let's say the affirmation together. I am one with the freeing, guiding force of God.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. Oh, that was a lovely song, wasn't it? You never know at the beginning of the month what we're going to get. At first, I thought it was Tainted Love, but that's a different church, I think. That sacred love is, that's what we all need a lot more of. So let's take a moment in prayer to bring in, breathe in, absorb that sacred love. That sacred love that is always available but becomes palpable when we come together with the intention to know our birthright of divinity ever deeper, ever higher, ever fuller, and ever more expressed. And that is the freedom that our daily word is speaking of, that freedom to connect directly with the source of all of creation from that ground of love, and to bring it forward, and to experience the upwelling of joy by having the privilege of bringing it forward. And allow yourself to embody that right now, to feel it in your bones, in your aura, in your emanation, in your life, in your joy, your laughter, and in our togetherness. And just allow the silence and the gratitude to reconfigure you ever so slightly. And then notice the shared harmonic as we are all slightly reconfigured according to sacred love and sacred freedom. And in this embodied harmonic, we say, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Well, today I will begin service with our evolutionary update. And this is the monthly transmission messaging joining. Joining's probably a good word, where we tell you about different things that are evolving in our church, evolving in our infrastructure, and evolving in our communal life. So many of you know, but many of you don't know, that Jennifer is no longer here working at Unity of Tustin. So that's a big evolution. That's a big change. And some of you may know that the operation director position was a trial position, and that all parties went into it giving our best effort in good faith. But after a half a year, it just became increasingly clear that on some fundamental levels it wasn't working. It may have been the position itself. It's possible that we were a little too ambitious. It may have been that there wasn't a goodness of fit. But the position was one that was not entirely covered by our projected operating budget. So we were just not able to continue justifying the expenditure. I will say that from my perspective, as challenging as these experiences are, the separation was handled very skillfully and with great integrity by the staff, by the board, and by Jennifer herself. She has and has always demonstrated a real quality of character her entire time here, and we're very grateful for her work, her contributions, which will continue to enrich our community, and we absolutely are grateful and bless her on her journey. So some of you who have been informed or who have found out about this information, one of the first questions I get is, what does that mean for us? What's next? And then the next question is Mary Jean okay? Is she going to be overwhelmed? there's a lot of understandable concern. So Michael Ward actually sent me a daily meditation that I think speaks to this very nicely. So I'm going to read some of it. And in it, the Reverend Cameron Trimble, who as a pilot honed her wisdom for navigating turbulence, explains it this way. She says, this is how her instructor was telling her about hitting turbulence. We're going to hit some turbulence ahead, the flying instructor said, and you will learn something about your airplane. If you tighten your grip on the yoke, you reduce the aerodynamics of your aircraft, and you, as the pilot, actually make the flight less safe, steady, and stable. So remember, when the going gets rough, fly loose. So our instinct, of course, is to grip the yoke. But no amount of control creates the optimal conditions to traverse the winds of change. Now, this is spiritual principle in action, not an easy one. So we have to resist, according to Trimble. We must resist looking to the frameworks of the past to lead us into the future. Doing so is a way to pretend to control, to tighten our grip and reduce our cultural aerodynamic flexibility. Instead, perhaps we turn to ways of wisdom that cultivate intuition, patience, and ingenuity. We embrace the ways of the mystic wayfinder, one who purposely gets lost in order to chart new ways forward. By getting lost and welcoming the reality that we do not have the answers or know the way forward, we enter a space of liminality and emergence. We are not attempting to fix broken systems, but are instead summoning entirely new worlds. We do not have the answers today. We have the wondering, we have the gifts of being lost, to guide us as portals into new ways of becoming. So, my question is to you, Mary Jean. Are you good with wondering and patience and being led to new paths? Yes, yes, okay, yes, yes, yeah. I know everyone has a lot of love and concern for you, so your reassurance. And I know personally that Mary Jean has an inner confidence about all of this, but I wanted you all to know that as well, and in our beloved community as we birth new worlds and move into new ways of becoming. So I'm going to end the evolutionary update with one more new way of becoming for us. Unity of Tustin will have an outreach booth for the first time ever at this year's Pride event on Saturday, June 25th from 10 till 8. Yay! So what is Pride, some of you might ask? Orange County Pride's mission is to strengthen the identity of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community within Orange County. We unite LGBTQ+ people, empower them to live openly with pride, and promote respect for all. And Unity of Tustin will have our inaugural booth at this event to support this mission as part of our outreach and core value of inclusivity, joy, and love. And there is a sign-up sheet on the table outside of the sanctuary. So if you would like to go and participate and be part of this inaugural event, you can sign up for your 2.5-hour shift. We knew this was new, so last year my kids were here and we went to Pride to do some recon. I got COVID, so I wasn't able to go, but they went and they came back with great bling and great stories and great experience of the joy that they had through participating. They were there all day. So if you've been, go again. If you haven't been, let this be your opportunity to celebrate the rainbow of love that we all participate and share in. So again, sign-up sheet on the table at the outside the sanctuary. Be part of this evolutionary first for our community. And with that, let's begin to move into our meditative space. So hold your applause after this song only, with a lovely song by Jodi, Siegel.
It's wide awake and fast asleep in nightmares and in dreams. It's foolish and it's wise, all through the day and night. It's powerful and weak. Through tears of joy and grief, it's clear as water, thick as mud. Love is all of the above. Oh, it's poetry and prose. To the young and the old who are falling in and out of love. It's more or less all of the above. It's an iron hand in a velvet glove. Whenever we are desperate to be loved, oh, it's cowardly and brave, clumsy yet full of grace. For when it comes to love, we are all of the above.
I invite you to bring forward this love. And we are going to take a journey where we can see how wide the embrace of this love can be. So right now, take a deep breath and allow yourself to exhale deeply, knowing that with every breath we are giving and receiving love as part of the foundation of our life. And I'd like you right now to see your heart of love. And you find yourself curiously at the portal of a door in your own loving heart. You're curious. What's inside? So you approach tentatively and you open that door. And there in front of you is a great archetypal room. And you see a large banquet table. And on that table is a great, wonderful feast. So you look around the chairs to see who is dining at this glorious table of feast. And you're surprised to see that this is a celebration of all of your shadow selves. All of those parts of you that you just wished were a little more refined, a little more spiritual, or had the good sense to be a little less bright. I invite you now to allow yourself to meet these aspects of yourself. Witness and even delight in them. Perhaps there is the perfectionist, the one who knows how to improve what everyone else does and tells them with such kindness. Or the self-sacrificing caretaker. On another seat, maybe the performer who loves the limelight or the quiet smugness of success. Ah, and there you spot him, the one who is so hurt because no one recognizes how special he is. Perhaps there's a glutton, or a bossy one, or the know-it-all, or the judger, or her cousin, the spiritual one, sitting in another room as she is so horrified by this riffraff. And then you're surprised to see amongst these golden shadow selves as well. There's the innovator, the hearth tender, with his or her extraordinary capacity to create welcoming spaces. The altruist who delights to live a life of service. The innovator, the quiet musician, the amazing magician who uplifts all spaces with pure presence. You see your genius as well, who knows how to share your unique gifts with ease. I invite you now to see your table of inner humanity and admire the guests at your banquet table. Celebrate your inner motley crew as they dine and banter and strut and grunt and fight and desire and laugh. There's lots of laughter at the table. It's actually a party you would like to be part of. Your inner shadow selves know how to love. Love and be loved. As God lets the rain and the sun fall on the shadow and light both. And our underexpressed shadow selves are our portal to unconditional love when we learn to embrace them. So for a few soulful moments, allow yourself to marvel with love and without explanation at the beauty and the gifts of your internal motley crew in the silence. And as you gently come out of meditation, you may notice how this sanctuary and its people look a whole lot like your banquet table, and how absolutely beautiful it is. And I'll bring you back with this poem called The Shadow in the Cave by Denise Levertov. The shadow in the cave is a creature of the night. But when we bring it to light, we see ourselves in its sight. What we thought was a monster is revealed as our own face. And the darkness that we feared is simply a lack of grace. For when we look upon the shadow, we see not just what is wrong, but all the beauty and the goodness that was hidden all along. So do not be afraid of the shadow or the darkness or light that it brings, for it is only through confronting it that we can truly spread our wings. And we extend this beauty to all of those on our prayer list here at Unity of Tustin and all of those in our minds and hearts as we are blessed by this next song by Jodi Siegel.
It's in times like these that we find out what we're made of. In trying times like these, we find a way to rise above. Dig down deep to work it out. Put more faith in our doubts to defy the gravity of times like these. It's in times like these when there seems to be no end in sight. In troubled times like these when lines are blurred between wrong and right, I clean up my side of the street, help somebody else in need to defy the gravity of times like these. And when the winds of change clear the air of a hate that's too heavy a burden to bear, and then when everybody gets their fair share, the end will justify the means of times like these. And when the winds of change clear the air of a hate that's too heavy a burden to bear, and then when everybody gets their fair share, the end will justify the means of times like these. In these defining moments, with mixed emotions and hard feelings, it's love and mercy that bring about some healing, to tear down all the walls, build a bridge once and for all, to defy the gravity of times like these, to defy the gravity of times like these.
Very nice. Thank you, Jodi. Thank you for sharing your golden shadow with us, taking it out of the closet so we can be blessed by your music and your gifts. That's been fabulous, this whole service. Thank you. Thank you. So the spirituality of elbow grease. It's about doing the work, the deeper cleaning, taking what we talked about last week and seeing how we can put it in action, the actual work of cleaning up. And the deeper cleaning up takes that intentionality, it takes that work. And I am a terrible housekeeper. For me, a clean house simply means that the internet is down. And luckily, living in semi-rural New Mexico, we have connectivity issues, so I have an opportunity to clean my house on occasion. You know, otherwise, my house isn't messy. I just have everything on display. Like a museum, right? And then I know how to find things, you know? If I have to host a gathering, I just tell my guests to bring dark socks and low expectations. And then I'll post a sign up on the door and say, my house was clean yesterday, sorry you missed it. It's not my gift. It's not my gift. It often has to be done, but it's not my gift. And I have to find a way to do it anyway, and we'll talk about some of that. But what we know is that the inner house cleaning can't be outsourced, can't be offloaded. It can't be done by anyone else but you and your focused intentionality. So, how many of you are like me and are housekeeping challenged? Okay, quite a few. So that's like a shadow. And I'll have you know that I am disapproving and frowning at each one of you. You are not doing as I say, you're doing as I'm doing. But you wouldn't know I'm frowning. No one got it? No one's, we got a couple of knowing nods. I'll let you talk amongst yourselves. I'll create a little FOMO, fear of missing out. You gotta listen to every talk to know my jokes. It may come out later. Holly has an inside scoop, and Holly is allowed to tell if you're interested in finding out what I was referring to. But this is about cleaning, doing our shadow work, taking an interest in what we don't know, excavating the iceberg. We talked about how the gift of shadow work is just when we've uncovered and transmitted and transmuted some of that shadow into light and love, when we've taken it out of the closet, there's more. But the gift is that it's new. The gift is it's evolutionary. The gift is it will serve the collective by us continuing to do our work. And how we do it, how do we really get some feedback on what we don't know? Well, we have to be intentional. We have to ask. We have to get that feedback. We have to look at what are we hiding? Where do we talk? And just slightly change our sentence so it's not quite true. Where do we do that? And then actually investigate it. Where do we see patterns? Our shadow comes up in patterns of our life. What are we? When do we identify a cyclical thing that seems to happen that is showing us our shadow? These little nuances, because our work is to fall in love with the aspects of ourselves that we have that tiny instinct or that really strong control to hide. So, what this was referring to is hiding my 11. I've talked about that before. I'm the minister that wants to hide her 11, and with a help of a congregant, actually did so. And I would rather be someone that hid her 11 and let you know that I was hiding it than hide it and pretend that I just suddenly look a little younger and kinder. That's it. Like, what do we want to not let other people know? And that is what not only holds us back from our integration, it also holds us back from our divine light. They're connected. They're very, very connected. Because if I have a message that I know like I know like I know, you will never be perfect. You will never clean out those closets completely. So our work is, how do we learn to love all of those aspects of ourselves, because it is part of the divine plan. It is part of the intelligence of love that undergirds all of creation, that we have polarities, and we have the light and we have the shadow, and we have the ego and we have the transcended ego. This is part of the design of nature, of creation. There's a saying from St. Francis of Assisi that will set the stage for Linda, who is going to be on her way to Assisi, I think next week. He says, we can patiently accept not being good. That's true, right? You might have something you know about yourself, and you don't lose sleep over it. But then you start saying it out loud, and you slightly change the truth. You slightly leave something out or embellish something else. So we can patiently accept not being good. What we cannot bear is not being considered good, not appearing good. St. Therese of Lisieux says it another way. If you are willing to bear serenely the trial of being displeasing to yourself, you will be for Jesus a pleasant place of shelter. So when you can be like, oh yes, sweet flawed Shara, that is a pleasant place for God. That's where we get the juice. And this is our way of escaping that trap of perfectionism. And Brother David Stendel-Rast, who we've studied here before, he's our gratitude guru, he talks about this, and this is what he has to say about it. He says, in its enthusiasm for divine light, Christian theology has not always done justice to divine darkness. We tend to get trapped in the idea of a static perfection that leads to rigid perfectionism. Abstract speculation can create an image of God that is foreign to the human heart, a God that does not contain our shadows. Then we try to live up to the standards of a God that is purely light, and we can't handle the darkness within us. And because we can't handle it, we suppress it. But the more we suppress it, the more it leads to its own life, because it's not integrated. And before we know it, we are in serious trouble. You know, and I would say the problem is not before we know it. We don't even know it. It becomes part of culture. Think of Facebook. Facebook is a place where, because we cannot handle the shadow, and the shadow is not what's wrong, it's what's underexpressed. And what's underexpressed is by far probably more our greatest light as well as our shadow. But what gets underexpressed, we suppress. It leads to its own life because it's not integrated. It comes out sideways, and we're in serious trouble. You know, we have a whole culture of that. When's the last time you heard a post that said, "Hey everyone, I just got my 11 cleared up. And I did it because I felt it made me look sterner than I really am. But I have to admit, it also gives me more confidence when I date. And now I feel like I have a leg up on the competition and more power in the relationship." We don't. But that's what's usually more true. But those layers of truth we leave out, and then we have a cultural norm that they're not acceptable, and then they get stuck in the closet, and then before we know it, we're in serious trouble. Maybe we're in serious trouble as an entire culture. So how do we say yes to all that we are? And I will propose that it is also Jesus' real message. So you'll find Jesus saying, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." That's in Matthew. But Jesus makes it clear that perfection does not mean hiding our shadow. He makes it very clear that perfection means including it, loving it, and integrating it. On the Sermon of the Mount, Jesus talks about our Father in heaven, who shines the sun on the just and the unjust, who lets the rain fall on the good and the bad. It's both the rain and the sun. It's both the light and the shadow. And Jesus is always stressing that creation itself has within it this interplay of light and dark, and that is approved of by God, that it is blessed, that it is holy, that it is all worthy and part of divine creation and divine love. And if it is part of creation for the sun and the rain to fall on what may seem good and bad, who are we to interfere with that process and not have part of our spirituality being to cooperate with it, to be part of that fertile ground, to be part of that fabric of creation, and to stay with that polarity, because part of the fabric of creation is polarity. It is tension. And our capacity to bear that tension, as Assisi and Teresa of Lisieux were talking about, is the capacity that allows us to get a glimpse or even fully embody the deeper grace. And the deeper grace can and does love it all each and every moment. We don't get to that grace by only being good. We get to that grace by learning how to love ourselves in our inexplicable complexity. So feel into that right now. Just imagine when you look really good. And how much more elusive the consciousness of grace really becomes. Unconditional love. You know, it's like, I earned it. I've got this. I'm separate. And then think of your banquet table in your meditation. And imagine the consciousness that you need to access to delight in that complexity. That's the unearned grace that Jesus is speaking of. It's not because you are good. It's because you are. It's because you are. And how can we do the hard work, the hard house cleaning of embracing all of that, so then we're not being ruled by hiding it, and then we can show up as who we really are. Then we can show up as being powerful beyond measure, being the light of the world, of being our genius self. Because that grace is that agape. It is that disinterested love. It's the love without clinging. Do not cling. That love that Jesus asks of Mary Magdalene and asks of us. Do not cling to the shoulds. Love it all. Love it all. So what I want to do now is a little bit of a shift. I want to see if we can bring this into our lives a little bit more, see this as an aspect of self. So I'm going to do a little bit of a PowerPoint teaching. So we're moving from minister to college professor. And we're going to talk about excelling in our zone of genius. So this is our golden shadow, because I'm thinking where to go with this. We're talking about shadow. There are so many different aspects we could take. Last week we talked about the element of shadow that is about the falseness of separation when we think that life is out there and we forget that we are participating in the collectives and that we find ourselves. And that creates a lot of hope because then we see our influence to be and change that which we are a part of, with unity of Tustin being our perfect playing ground. So it's like, what kind of subtle shadow should we talk about today? So then I thought, well, weeks ago, before I even knew what I was talking about, what did I say I was going to talk about? And I looked at the little holy blurb, and apparently the talk was going to be about to clarify what matters most and polish the mirror of our higher selves. And to do this, we need to do the hard work of inner housekeeping. And then in Friday's e-blast, even though I'm pretty sure I didn't write this, there was a little addition that said the reward for our efforts is what some spiritual masters have called the pearl of great price. Let's how about that shadow? Let's do that. Let's talk about how do we clean up what is between us and our pearl of great price? How do we work with our golden shadow? And we talked last week about what ChatGPT said about the shadow of the unity of Tustin movement. And part of that is that we can sometimes overemphasize positivity. But the irony is we can overemphasize positivity and still repress our golden shadow. But I do think we create the teachings in the field to make it more culturally okay to say, I am the light of the world. I am the divine Christ. I am one who keeps becoming as service to the world. So let's look at that a little bit more in depth. Golden shadow elbow grease. So when we are conscious, I like this picture because that can be us as unity of Tustin as the beloved community, where we are all connected as interbeing, taking a risk out of our comfort zone, connected, loving, and supporting each other. And the work I'm going to talk about is from a book that I'm studying, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, which is brought from Gay Hendricks' work, The Big Leap, which many of you may be familiar with. But they're really talking about shadow. What do we repress? And this commitment I found very interesting and relevant for today's talk. So what this book presents is that we are being our golden self, our full genius in the word. And yes, use that word genius. You all have a genius at something. When we express our full magnificence and support and inspire others to express their creativity and live in their zone of genius as well. That's when we are being our full self. That's our role as spiritual community. And when we're living in shadow, we are committing to holding ourselves back and not realizing our potential by living in areas of incompetence, competence, and even excellence. So that was the piece that really caught my attention because as a recovering perfectionist, one of the teachings I was given that I found very, very helpful was excellence, not perfection. So I've been pursuing and teaching and encouraging excellence for years. And here I have a point of view that says that's actually my shadow preventing my genius. So before I went further in the book, I came up with these 3 questions that I'll just ask you just to consider. And then if you want to look at them more, you can watch the recording and get these questions. But just think of it now. How might living in excellence prevent the expression of your full magnificence? Any ideas? Anyone want to shout something out?
Is it about trying to live in external excellence and not...
Okay. So you might be looking at being approval by others rather than really who you are and letting that shine in the world. Excellent. Wrong word. Genius. Genius. How else might living in excellence prevent the expression of your full magnificence? Patty?
Well, you're not being open in the now moment to the universal excellence. You're just trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, that sounds good too. That there's a way that it's being done on an individual level. In what ways would you show up differently if you transcended or went beyond excellence? Consider that for a moment. What might that look like for you? Yes?
Just pure authenticity.
Yeah, pure authenticity. You can almost feel that in your body. It's a different reference point. Yes, thank you. Yes, Mary Jean? More creative. Yeah. Look at all these things that exist beyond excellence. And why is going beyond excellence and living in your zone of genius important?
Acceptance of every part of itself, even the dark parts.
Beautiful. Acceptance of every part of ourselves, even the dark parts.
Whose definition of excellence are we referring to?
That's right. So where is that box even coming from? Yes. So this really got to me because if we are only living in our excellence, what are we leaving out? Hold on one second. Fun. Spontaneity. Yeah. Joy. Lots of things. Yeah. So, what we know is we get stuck in 3 zones that prevent us from expressing our full magnificence, creativity, gifts, joy, everything you've just said in the world. And one is the zone of incompetence. And this is where you spend time doing things that you don't enjoy, don't do well, and someone else can do better. It's your dead-end path, and if you both dislike it and do it poorly, your coaching is to dump it, delegate it, or do it differently. Do it differently to see if there's a way to make it more fun. Because I can dump and delegate some of my housekeeping, but I cannot dump and delegate all of my housekeeping, or the dishes would be really, really, really a problem. So, how do I do it differently so it becomes joy? Me and my kids, we have a lovely routine. I actually like to cook because I like simple. I'm a simple cook, but simple, nutritious meals. And then they do the cleanup, but I do the pots. So then we're all together, and they're doing the counters and tables and getting the dishes, and I'm doing the pots, and it's kind of become a family time. So, how do we do it differently? Then we have the zone of competence. These are things you do just fine, but others can do as well or better with more enjoyment. So you're not incompetent, but at the end of the day, you feel drained and depleted. So these are things you want to see if you can do less of, so you are free to do more of your zone of genius. Now, your zone of excellence, as we've kind of discerned, is the tricky zone where most of us get stuck. Because here is where we're good at what we do, better than most, and we're rewarded with money, prestige, status, positive feedback. But there are many problems that we identified. And if you are evolving, and your zone of excellence is where you live, you are going to be stuck in the status quo, right? Because outside of my zone of excellence, of your zone of excellence, you're not excellent anymore. Bless you. that was a cute one. Outside your zone of excellence, you might be a fumbling beginner. Outside your zone of excellence, you might fall flat on your face. You also might catch the wave of a deeper genius, but you're not in control. And when we draw on the lines and stay in a boundary, we're stopping our growing and we're stopping our flowing. And that's the upper limit problem. The upper limit problem is where we are blocking our genius, where our full magnificence and creativity can be expressed without hesitation. And we get stuck in the zones of excellence, competence, and incompetence without living up to our extraordinary brilliance when we are stuck in the upper limits. And that is, that's because it's our comfort zone. And we have to break through certain things to move past that. And they're usually our fears and our beliefs that are in the way, that are stopping our progression. So some of these beliefs are fundamental flaws, feeling that if we really live our genius, we'll be disloyal to others. If we have success, it's going to be a big burden, a taboo that we're not able to outshine others. You know, this could be the voice that says, "Who do you think you are? You know, who do you think you are to delegate what you don't want to do? Who made you that special?" And there's no guarantees that your genius is your genius. What if you fail miserably? What if you don't know what you're doing? What if you fly loose? And interestingly, this is what we're doing as a spiritual community. You know, we know our zone of excellence, what we do well, is the culture is outgrowing it somewhat. So we don't want to throw it away, but we do want to evolve it. And the evolving is getting outside the excellence and seeing what wants to emerge. So these upper limit problems, whether they're individual beliefs or organizational beliefs, are like thermostats, and they regulate how much money, love, joy, success, friendships, dynamism we're allowed to have. And when we get out of our comfort zone, what we often experience is that just something happens. Something happens to nudge us back into our comfort zone and keep us in our safe and comfortable way of being. Because there is a capacity of bearing, a capacity of tolerating what is beyond our comfort zone that's part of our nervous system. So part of what we have to do is retrain our nervous system that too good to be true. So when something's too good to be true, rather than that little sabotage, when something's too good to be true, we need to retrain our nervous system that it's not only possible, but it's even normal. So part of how we do this is through belief work, through shadow work, through processing our fears and resistances as they arrive. We can even recognize this by when we are in our zone of genius, when we know we've had those moments, to root it and ground it physiologically by following it with something very routine, like mindfully mowing the lawn, or mindfully cleaning your house, doing it differently and better. Because when we integrate this, our capacity to tolerate too good to be true, then we're more likely not to subtly sabotage these peak moments when they come. So we're always kind of playing catch up with ourselves. But it's hard because one of the trickiest parts of all is that means we have to recognize when we're in our zone of genius. But that's very hard to do because it often feels like flow. It feels easy. It feels like what we are uniquely gifted to do. Sense of time, it disappears. There's an upwelling of creativity and joy. Our genius, our release, when we're released from the golden shadow and let our golden light shine, it's what others regularly appreciate about us, but we often discount in ourselves, so we might not even notice it. Because your genius feels so easy and enjoyable, it's very difficult to self-identify. It's like praising a fish for being a genius swimmer. So, what are those things? What are those things? Some people tell me that my genius is that I give engaging and helpful talks. And I have a really hard time accepting that. I mean, many of you knew I was part of a community, a spiritual community, where the community gave the talks for 7 years and I never gave one talk. And even now, I'm like, no, they're just okay. And then I'm thinking, well, if I do have a gift, they should be better. Everyone should be a Brene Brown, 50 million view TED Talk. So we've got to do this work. My dust bunnies killed my cleaning fairy. Yeah, there's no shortcuts. We've got to do this work. So some of the things we can do is by getting feedback from others. So imagine identifying a few people who you really trust, letting them know you want to have a soulful conversation, and just imagine if you could bear asking these questions. Can you bear this? Think of it in your own body. Imagine someone right now who you'd ask. Let's say I asked my friend Natalie, my BFF. Natalie, what reliably shows up in the room when I do? That'd be a courageous question for me to ask. What do you see as a special gift I am gifted with? And how have I most contributed to your life? Okay, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to call Natalie and have that conversation. And I'd like you to imagine actually doing this with someone, to dare to be in that level of intimacy where you're saying, I want to get to know my genius. Show me who I really am. Show me the best of myself. The other thing you can do is write down stories of when you were in the zone so you can see how you're a genius swimmer as a fish. Because genius equals juice. And the more we live and work in this genius above our golden shower, when we let it out of the closet, the more life is flowing through us and the world. Because it's not our failure that we are most afraid of, but our magnificence. And part of our reason for being a spiritual community is to create the sacred playground where you can say, hey, I have a genius here. I want to try this out. Maybe I'll lead a spirit group. Maybe I'll be the facilitator. Maybe I'll organize the social gathering. Maybe I'll try to take it to the next level. Maybe I want to offer a class. Maybe I want to do more pastoral care. Maybe I want to create the beautiful hearth of hospitality after service. Maybe I want to pray with others. And we get to practice these things. Maybe I have an idea. Maybe I want to step out in leadership more. Maybe I want to step back in this place where I'm not going to be seen, but I know there's a need. We get to practice that as spiritual community. And that's why I invite everyone to really listen to what's arising and then make it happen in the world, because you are a part of the collective in which you find yourself. There is no they have to do that. There's no them. Because if there is a them, part of it's me, and I don't want that. I want us. I want to know that we are creating the beloved community with intentionality. So I'm going to ask you to do something. I'd like you right now to identify someone you deeply admire. Okay? Identify someone you deeply admire and then come up with 3 to 5 qualities. And if you have a pen in your little bulletin, you can write it there. If you want to, you can write it in your phone, or you can just memorize it in your head. 3 to 5 qualities of someone you admire. And really identify 3 words. And what we know through the power of projection is because you can see these qualities in someone else, you are also them. That's also your light. So I really believe that engagement and embodiment is really important, and that there is something that could be added if we had more engagement even during Sunday service. And what is out of my zone of excellence is asking you all to participate. So I was wondering if you would be willing to participate in turning to a neighbor and telling them how you are these 3 qualities for 90 seconds. If you do not want to, just say, I prefer not to. But if so, please connect with one other person. You can move around the room, and I will give you 90 seconds to talk about how I am these 3 qualities, and this is how I show up as these 3 qualities. Riff on how you are these 3 light qualities. Find your partner. Ushers, you might want to come around and see if there's anyone who's needed. Begin. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to switch. Partner number 2, talk about how you are those 3 qualities and riff on how you embody them in your life. And for those of you online, if you have someone, do it there. And if not, write it down and see if you can do this with someone in the future. Okay, final few seconds. bring that to a close. You can come back to your seats now. You can tell me after service if that was genius or not. But let's really make that commitment to move beyond excellence into new territory, into new forms, into new ways of doing things, into our genius. And let our community be your playground to try on and try out these beautiful, perhaps underexpressed aspects of self. And let's clean up all that's in the way between our expressed self and our true self, so that we can show up as that pearl of great price to ourselves, to our communities, and to the world. God bless.
Well, the person I shared with me the qualities we see in Shara. We appreciate those qualities of authenticity, listening, and deep reflection. Thank you. And we felt like we had those qualities too. So, thank you. Thank you. So now is the time when we welcome our first-time guests, showing up as you really are, bringing your genius. We're so grateful that you've come today. If you would feel comfortable raising your hand, our ushers will come forward with a flower for you and a welcome package. Do we have anyone here for the first time? Welcome, welcome. Here at Unity and Tustin, we believe in many paths, one God, and our evolutionary purpose is to transform lives and inspire people to make a positive difference in the world. We're a community of all walks of life and would like to know that whatever your background, we are glad you're here to grow spiritually with us. So, it's also the time for us to receive our love offering. We take this moment to share our financial gifts with the ministry. These gifts keep the grounds, the bookstore, the hospitality up and running. And it's really nice if you can give automatically. I have one of my IRAs put in so the board knows what's coming from me. So thank you for that. And
Yes, and thank you everyone for your generosity and prosperity in advance, because it takes all of us to create the beloved community with which we can emerge and play as our sacred and best selves, as we can enrich each other's lives. So all of your contributions given from that space of sincerely wanting to be and contribute to what matters most to you in the world is the only reason we even exist. And we are so grateful for the gift of collective community, of the beloved community, of Unity of Tustin, that not only enriches all of us here today, but ripples out in ways known and unknown as a blessing to the world. So I invite you to say our love offering blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give and all that I receive in joy. Thank you. And our ushers are coming forward with the baskets, and Jodi is coming forward with another wonderful song for us. And Jodi, if you don't mind, just maybe turning a touch more center, because everyone can then see you.
There's a little buzz in my guitar, so if I stand this way, it's less.
Oh, there's method. Yep. I defer to your genius.
Well, it's not like I'm a wallflower, if you know me. So it's just that my guitar's buzzing a little bit. So. Which I hear is because of the lights. Just a fun fact. And this mic stand keeps going down. It's a Freudian slip. Okay, I'm going to do a song that I wrote with my friend and yours, Mr. Harold Payne. It's helpful to plug it in. Can you hear the buzz? So if I go like this, it's a little bit less. All right, just electrical lesson for you. This is called Rhythm of Your Soul. Did you ever get that feeling? Life had lost its meaning, or just wondered where you belong? And you know you can't stop that yearning. You got to up and change the road you're on. Oh, your heart is beating like a clock. Every tick-tock sends a message that you can't ignore. You're gonna find what you're missing when you listen to the rhythm of your soul. The rhythm of your soul. See, I was searching for a purpose, kept going round in circles, hearing this or watching that. Oh, but I didn't find the answer from all those fancy dancers. See, they never really had my back. So make it up as you go. Set the tempo fast or slow. Then right on time you will know when you found what you're missing, 'cause you listen to the rhythm of your soul. It's a backbeat that lifts your spirit. It sings the melody of your sweet love song. Nothing puts that groove in your step like the rhythm of your soul. The rhythm of your soul. Oh, it's so strong. It's your soul song. It keeps on whispering in your ear. Yeah, sending you a message so loud and clear. You're gonna find what you're missing when you listen to the rhythm of your soul. Yeah, the rhythm of your soul. It's a your spirit. It sings the melody of your sweet love song. Nothing puts that groove in your step like the rhythm of your soul. Yeah, the rhythm of your soul. You're gonna find what you're missing when you listen to the rhythm of your soul.
I'm just wondering, did you know about Shara's talk? Did Shara send you her talk?
I got the title and then I did a little research because sometimes you know, you kind of want to be under the umbrella of the basic thing, but I have a lot of songs that are all over, so I hope I was okay. Because I write a lot of songs that say baby and stuff, so I didn't play any of those today.
Well, and the daily word goes with the daily word. It's amazing how our services really do sort of like flow with the rhythm of the soul. Thank you. Thank you. So, after service, Shara has a salon at 1 here in the sanctuary, 1 o'clock. So if you want more, come back. And next week is Green Bag Week, so we're collecting food for the food insecure people, and it's those of us who love to eat think about what would others need. So bring your green bags, and if you don't have a green bag, you can get one today. And check your e-blast for other things that are going on. I won't just reread the bulletin to you. You can all read. And stay after, if you can, for our hospitality. We have food and fellowship. Walk our beautiful gardens. Enjoy our bookstore. Come for prayer. Someone with a white ribbon. We hold anything you tell us in highest confidence in prayer. Come for Reiki. You'll see green ribbons. And just enjoy this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful community that wants to grow and be happy. So let's say the prayer for protection at the end. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Go forth and enjoy your soul.